On tonight's episode of Mr. Norris's In Case You Missed It, we look at the Constitutional Convention, some debates about how to run the government, and a great compromise. Hey, hi, hello, and what is up, everybody? It's your favorite history teacher, Mr. Norris, with the good hair. And today we're going to be talking about the Constitutional Convention, some debates about how our government should be set up, and ultimately the Great Compromise. So we're going to have to go to the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia, Independence Hall, 1787, from about May to September. And before we get to the actual setup of our government and the Great Compromise, let's just talk about the convention in general. First, let's talk about the attendance there. 12 states sent 55 delegates to try and figure out or repair the weakened Articles of Confederation after Shays' Rebellion. But pretty shortly after they get there, they realize that they need to totally scrap the Articles and create a new form of government. Now, the 55 delegates from 12 states, the one state that doesn't send any delegates was Rhode Island. And, with them being a small state and underneath the Articles of Confederation having as much voting power as larger states, they didn't really want to fix much. They thought that that was absolutely fine. So they were very fearful of this new, strong central government that would take power from the states. Thus, they don't send anybody. 55 delegates, 31 of them were lawyers professionally. And this is the middle of the summer, and it was a very hot summer. So there is a lot of arguing, to say the least, going on. These lawyers in steamy, humid heat, yelling and arguing back and forth. I imagine that it was probably worse than bringing up politics at the Thanksgiving table. All right, just let that one sink in. Their attendance was, in other words, not good, not very good. The attendance at the Constitutional Convention was very sporadic. People coming and going, showing up late, leaving early. Basically, their attendance was like my class on days that I give a test. Little teacher joke there. But let's get right into it. The first big roadblock or huge argument during the Constitutional Convention was over how to set up our government. Now, there were two popular plans that came to fruition as ideas to set up our government. The first was the Virginia plan, or the first that we'll talk about is the Virginia plan. The Virginia plan said that our government should have three branches: an executive branch, a legislative branch, and a judicial branch or a court system. In the legislative branch, it said that there should be two houses and that representation should be based on population, meaning that larger states with more people would have more representation. And this plan was pretty much created and crafted by James Madison, all right, of Virginia. So that's why it's called naturally the Virginia plan. He wasn't a very good public speaker, even though he did eventually rise to the position of president. So Edmund Randolph is the one who delivers it inside the Constitutional Convention. And it was also called, I believe, the Randolph Plan. But again, three branches, a two-house Congress based on population, larger states having more say in government. The other plan that gets put forth by a collection of smaller states and kind of spearheaded by William Patterson of New Jersey was the New Jersey Plan. Now, the New Jersey Plan agreed with the Virginia Plan that there should be separation of powers between three branches: an executive, a legislative, and a judicial. Where they differed was in the legislative branch. The New Jersey Plan felt that the legislative branch should have one house, and that house should have equal representation, equality amongst all the states, regardless of their size. Now, obviously, larger states are going to get behind the Virginia Plan, as they feel it's just natural that if they have more people, they should have more representation, as they need to represent more people. And then smaller states are obviously going to get behind the New Jersey Plan. Right, that they don't want to be bullied by bigger states or have to live in a country where all the laws are dictated by states that have more people. So this is a huge roadblock in setting up a new system of government, especially when you take into account that when the delegates got there, they chose to pretty much get rid of the Articles of Confederation right away. So the clock is ticking to come up with this new government. So what do? Well, a committee is founded, spearheaded by Roger Sherman of Connecticut. And if you look at that picture of Roger Sherman, I'm getting like a William H. Macy / Christopher Walken kind of vibe from him. Yeah, just a little odd looking dude, to be honest with you. But he spearheads this committee to come up with a compromise between the two plans. And that compromise becomes known as the Great Compromise. What the Great Compromise decides to do or call for, again, is a three-branch government with an executive, a legislative, and a judicial branch. And in the legislative branch, there's going to be two houses in Congress. Now, to appease both people who like the New Jersey Plan and the Virginia Plan, the upper house, the Senate, was going to be based on equal representation. each state will have the same amount of senators. No matter what, each state winds up getting 2 senators. Okay. The lower house, the House of Representatives, that's going to be based on population. So the larger state that you have, the more representatives that you will have. And this winds up being a pretty good deal that appeases both sides. And if it sounds at all familiar, well, it's because it is, because that's exactly how our system is right now. Senate, all states are equal. Each state has 2 senators. Probably should get that on camera. And then in the lower house, the House of Representatives, it's based on population, and larger states send more representatives. This was only just the beginning of some very, very important discussions going on at the Constitutional Convention. But it's their first big roadblock. They eventually figured out with the Great Compromise, thanks to William H. Macy. I'm Ian Roger Sherman of Connecticut. I hope that you enjoyed the video here. I just got into the basics. We'll have more videos to come about some of the other arguments at the convention. If there's anything that you noticed that I might have missed or got wrong, please leave a comment below. Feel free to like or subscribe. Remember, history is life, and in the words of George Washington, the surest basis for public happiness is knowledge. So go out there and get some. Have a good night, everybody.